I'm standing in my neighbor's yard here where Sasha and I live, our half-acre spot, looking at the pond that we dug with an excavator last summer. I'll link to that video here. This is the lawn to food forest conversion update for spring. You can see the pond is holding pretty nicely. There's still some work to be done to get the water level to go up another 4 inches. That's for another day. But this video is about the 14 by 50 foot high tunnel. The metal framework is up. It is now skinned in a rough way. The end walls are kind of just rough sketched, battened down. I never got around to getting poly on the doors, but it's already warm enough that maybe it's a moot point until the fall. So I'm going to talk about this high tunnel, some ideas for where this can go this season, and ask for some input as well, so stick around. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how it went up. The framework, the metal and the wood, I feel very good about. The poly we put on when it was a little bit on the cooler side, and now today it's almost 70 degrees. It's going to cool off again, but I can see how it's a little soft, a little slack. So we may have to make it more taut in the future, loosen up the wiggle wire and pull it more tight. But it went through a couple very, very windy nights already with no problem. So we'll leave that alone. Aesthetics are the only real issue at the moment there, hopefully. And of course, this all needs to get framed out. I'm going to put a univent automatic ventilator at the top here so that it can breathe a little bit on transitional times. Same thing on the far side. So it'll be cross ventilation that'll be driven by the temperature inside the space. We've gone through and have the basic sketch of a dominant 2 foot wide pathway through the middle. That will stay, I'm pretty darn sure. The north side is turned into a whole set of keyhole beds, which we'll look at in detail. And the south side is one monolithic bed that we'll design a minor walkway right down through the middle and just have this be crazily intense production. It's about 6 feet, almost 7 feet wide, 6.5 feet wide by 50 feet long of contiguous raised bed. So we'll have a little plank or a little dig out in there. But overall, it's moving along. Today's work was to get a basic watering system in place. So I just repurposed a water tank that we had from another spot. This is 2 foot by 4 foot, maybe 2.5 feet tall. I'm gonna guess it's 100 to 150 gallon storage. Fine enough. Metal is nice. It just seems like it imparts less gunk overall. And this comes with threading at the bottom. I'll talk about that in a bit, but we now have water from inside the space that can deliver out to our high tunnels down in the garden. And this is being filled right now through this little Pexadaisy, little baby there. Follow that around. I need to commit where this is going to go and actually bury it all, but for now I just have hay. Sneaks out through the corner there, under some more hay, down to a very, very low cost $20 12 volt circulator pump, and it's attached directly to a panel. So if my hand goes over there, it gets a little cloudy, it turns off, but it works just fine enough, and it's floating on that wood, so the pump is only skimming water that's about 2 inches below rather than drawing muck up. So we're going to work on this. Maybe I'll have a float valve that turns it on and off, but for now my idea is just to have the water from the pond while we're having excess water in the spring, bring it up into this cistern. We can deliver it with gravity from that bottom hose down slope to a splitter in the garden. So now we can water that high tunnel directly off of this stored battery right off the pond. We can feed water to our greenhouse down there. All of our gardens can now get water with just a little bit of pressure. And then the design will be this overflow, very, very rough sketch overflow. I'm gonna have to figure out better tubing there, that we can lay out with old dumpstered or reclaimed garden hose with little pinholes buried through these beds so we can do drip irrigation. That's the hope. Right now the hose is just running down to the end and dumping into the walkway. I'm just letting it irrigate here. My plan is to get this really saturated and then use a shovel to get the entire walkway absolutely dead level, so that if and when we are flood irrigating these beds and they take full saturation of the water that they want, this one takes all at once. We'll have a splitter, so we have hoses down through, that the walkway can then hold water and wick it back into the beds. So the ideal scenario is that we'll have a solar panel facing the sun, a pump in the water, some sort of intelligence in the system that says, go ahead and run for the whole day or not. water this whole space and leave it completely full to service the garden down below. This is looking at it from the east side, just a little northeast of it. I'm happy overall. It's taking a little getting used to this amount of infrastructure in the landscape, but I'm just really excited to see what we can figure out. We still don't have a full game plan of what will grow in here, but I would guess in the next week or two we may be thinking about adding cucumbers in. We're going to start tomatoes and peppers in another space and probably do hot weather crops in here for the season, and then think about maybe some nursery work in there for next year. Got 4 varieties of figs and some rosemaries that we're rooting, so maybe we'll have some long-term perennial hot climate crops that actually live in there long-term. And I'm harvesting a lot of soil out of this bed, going down a foot, and it's 4 feet wide and long, and taking all that topsoil to get more topsoil for these beds, and this will be brown rice production this summer. So a lot of infrastructure coming together, a lot of moving parts. We're still so busy with the shipping season and getting our bare root plants together for all you lovely folks that have ordered from us. That's the major work, but on hot days like this, I need to be focusing on getting water into the structure so it doesn't burn up. So yeah, basic layout is established. Certainly going to plan to share lots more notes as this space evolves. The keyhole design I think should work out pretty nicely. So these are all permanent beds. They've got rough sketches of compost from the chicken yard, nearly finished compost from the chicken yard. They'll need to be capped with actual good quality soil. But you can kind of see the pattern is basically the bed goes all the way from the north to the middle walkway, and then every 4 feet there's a little keyhole or a step in, which we may dig a little bit deeper depending on how far in we need to go. But that lets us have a massive amount of contiguous bed. So it simplifies watering, it simplifies overwintering and season extension a bit. And will allow us to be able to step in where we need to and access all the different crops in here. So keyhole gardening, keyhole layout is a neat basic concept for maintaining near monolithic contiguous raised beds with just a little nod towards access for foot traffic here or there. The final layout in here certainly remains to be seen. I'm definitely open to hearing from folks some crops that you'd like to see growing in here. Definitely planning on vining elements that use these trellises. We're definitely thinking about something that could have season extension, so deep greens in the winter over here, but we're coming hard and fast into the growing season, so it'll be hot weather jungle crops until September. We'll certainly share notes as that goes. Pretty exciting to have this pond here. Some folks were over today and their younger daughters, teenage daughters, decided to go swimming in here. They're pretty rugged for going in there and doing that. But it's cool to see folks already enjoying this space. That's why it's cloudy. But the work to be done on this pond, I mean, the water level I'm happy with if it stays here, but it would be nice if it went up a few more inches. This area in here was cored out by voles this winter. They made a ton of channels all through here. So I'm using a ramrod to pack that back down. We'll add some sodium bentonite clay for where the water is getting drawn out through those leaks and see if we can't plug it up. In an ideal scenario, we get the water level to hold right up to this berm, which would put water right across onto this level in here and increase the total surface area of the pond quite dramatically, even though it'll only go up a few inches. We'll share notes as that goes too. Lots of future notes to be shared, it seems like, in this video. But for now, we've got the little sipper, little DC circulator pump drawing water out of the pond direct from solar into a cistern that's in there, which will upgrade and develop much more later on, that has the beginnings of an intelligent overflow system to passively water this whole space, hopefully, fingers crossed, and a little bit of loft in that water holding a little head to be able to send water with a bit of pressure down to our other systems while we wait for our rainwater collection systems to start actually collecting again. Whew, that was a lot of words. Anyway, high tunnels up, rough sketch there, end walls look like crap, but it works fine enough. The video could have been 20 seconds long, huh? Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what we're missing and what you think would be exciting to see happen in here this growing season. Take care. A little sneak peek for what will be next. You can see I've been moving the hay that was in the walkway, nice and wet now from the overflow from that tank, and using it to weave the boundary. You can make raised beds out of woven wet hay, interestingly enough. Draw the material, the bed material, right up to the edge of it. So this will be a very shapely space. It'll all settle and sink, and then once the vegetation's in there, the skeletal framework will kind of disappear anyway, but should set ourselves up for nice success if we can get whatever drops of water land in this walkway to equalize across the entire space with berms before the doors so that it has to flood up and wick into thirsty beds before it can escape. But we'll leave that for another video for another time. For now, I'm gonna get back to work. Gotta wipe my hands off in between work so I can take a little quick video shot.